right. Just waiting for that. Go ahead. Okay. Much better. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all here. Well done. First of all, for keeping time. Well done. This is not a normal thing on this continent of ours, and you are already separate from other folks. I saw we had people in this room an hour in advance. Those who are online, thank you so much for checking in an hour in advance. That's amazing. That means that there's hunger and there's a space in your heart and in your mind for the things that matter around your finances. And I'm so excited that you've given us your time this Saturday. We don't want to steal much more of it. To be here with us, with the Centonomy team. I'm so happy that you've chosen to be with us this Saturday. And we're going to have a good time. We're going to learn. And hopefully you came with a notebook, a pen, or somewhere to take down notes. Even if it's your phone, somewhere where you can write down some ideas, some concepts, some principles that are going to build your financial future, right? That's what we're aiming for as we go. Hey, everybody online, I can see that you're already there. Welcome to the Centonomy Open Day. We're glad to have you here with us as well. I want to invite you to kindly type in the chat box and just to say hi to everybody and tell us where you're logging in from. In a couple of minutes, we're going to see that we're not just the few hundred of us that are in this room, which I can see is growing. The lines are growing. Apologies for those who came in into the hall here. I know there are quite a few things going on within the All Saints Cathedral area. So it's been a bit of a struggle to get into the room, but well done for keeping time. So if you're online, please do say hi in the chat box. Please do also write down where you're logging in from, because this has become essentially a global movement at Centonomy. When we made the move to go online a couple of years ago, well, can I just tell you a secret? We didn't actually choose. We were forced to go online. If you remember what happened a few years ago, 2020, what happened? All our classes were shut down and we had to actually go online. And in doing so, it opened us up to folks around the world. You, when you come into the 101 class, will be sitting in class with folks from literally every continent on the earth except two, bar two. That is Antarctica, because I don't think there are too many people there, and South America, because we're yet to translate into Portuguese and to Spanish. But give us some time, we're going to be there. Otherwise, Asia, we're there, Australia, the USA, Europe, Africa, obviously, Asia, all these different places, you're going to find that you're in class with folks from those areas. So welcome once again to the Centonomy Open Day. Well done. I can see those wonderful folks online who are letting us know where they're from. And here's an opportunity for you. Hey, you always want to look for deals. And so here's a good deal for you. We want you to engage with us online and to have a chance to win a scholarship, a partial scholarship to the programs. So if you are socially media inclined, please do follow us and go through and share your stories on Instagram. You can tweet, or is it X nowadays? The one that's, you know what I'm talking about, right? Twitter now become X. You can tweet and retweet on that as well. You can post on your stories on Facebook, and our team here will be following up. And those who are most engaged on their social media platform will stand a chance to win a partial scholarship into the program. Make sure you do use the hashtags that are there, and do tag at Centonomy across all social media. The hashtags for today, in case you can't see them there, they'll be on the screens in just a couple of minutes. We've got hashtag Centonomy Open Day, hashtag money management, hashtag financial freedom. Those are the three hashtags that we're going to be using throughout the session, and you're more than welcome to use them along the way. It's a good way to make a saving and get into the class even as we go ahead. In case we have never met before, because you know that's how I get excited and just get into it. In case you've never met before, my name is Waithaka Gatumia, and I serve at Centonomy as CEO, but I will also be serving this day as your moderator, but also letting you know a little bit more about Centonomy specifically, and it's going to be a good moment for us along the way. Now, today, we have chosen to go back to the very beginning of the Centonomy journey. At least it was the beginning for me. And it was one of those moments that really changed my life, because it changed the perspective around some of the issues that we face in our finances. So here is Waithaka. I have been working with the Centonomy team part of the support team. I'd actually been a contractor part of that. I was not actually within the team. I was kind of on the outside. And I'd been attending some of the sessions like this. I'm good friends with Waceke, who is our founder. And I get married, right? And I've told this story before. When you get married and you go home and suddenly you're not responsible just for yourself, there's somebody else. I said, I'd better get my finances in order. So I signed up for the class myself. So I actually was a student in the 101 program myself. And in doing so, I attended the first class, and here's what I did. Here's what I received, and hopefully I'll be able to share it with you in the same way that it was. So Waceke came in, and she was so lovely. You know the way she is, bubbly and energetic. And she came and she said, all of us, let's stand up. So we're going to get that experience. Even you who are online, you can do that. So stand up on your feet, everybody. Stand up, stand up. This is how it was in the class. And she said, she said, have a look around you. Have a look around you. Look at the folks who are next to you. Look at the people who are next to you. And then now I want you to look forward. And she said, your current financial status is your fault. So you know how you're feeling right now? I felt it. And I was like, excuse me, I live in a certain country. I live on a certain continent. There's things like inflation. You know, all these are the thoughts that are coming in my mind. And she said it again, your current financial status is your fault. And I was like, why would you start a class or a session like this with such tough and difficult words? And then she began to unpack it, and I want to unpack it for you as well. If you don't mind, just join with me in saying this, it's my fault. This was one of the most freeing statements. Why? Because guess what? If it is my fault, then I have the power to change. If my situation is based on the government, if my situation is based on my history, if my situation is based on my education, which has already passed, if my situation is based on my parents, my heritage, my upbringing, if all those things are the ones responsible for where I am, then can I change my situation? No. But guess what? It's my fault. So you said it very softly before. You said it like you're doing it because there was social pressure of people around you. But now that you understand the reason, can we say it like it really matters? It's my fault. Hey, and so if it is my fault, I can change it. So let's say I can change it. So that's what we're doing today. Our theme is to invest, to adapt, and to succeed. So we're going to make that personal for ourselves. Say this, I am going to invest, I am going to adapt, and I'm going to succeed. Okay, now why don't you tell somebody next to you what you have succeeded at in the last couple of weeks, couple of months? If you passed an exam ever in your life, tell them about that one. If you have ever invested, just tell the person next to you what you have succeeded at recently, or even if it was in the past, just a moment before you sit down. Hey, those who are online, please type in the chat box what you have succeeded at, and let us know in the chat box, what have you succeeded at in the past, so that we can see the choices that you have made to be there. Look at that. People are successful. Don't stand by yourself. Turn around, face these wonderful people who are next to you there. Tell them something that you have learned. Good, those are good friends. Good. Excellent. Yes, you've succeeded at something, haven't you? You passed an exam one time in your life, isn't it? Many of them, in fact, and that you're in this same place. Excellent. All right. Everybody have a seat. Those stories can go on forever. I know, I'm aware. Somebody was now beginning to say in standard 1, I passed an exam that I know that, isn't it? And listen to me, this is meaningful because it means then our current position is a result of the choices that we make. And the fact that you have made a choice to be here on a Saturday, to log in wherever you are around the world, to log in from that place and to say, for a couple of hours, I'm going to come into a space and to begin to learn, that means that you're already different from other people. You have already started making the choices. But hey, choices don't stop at the first step. That's just the first step. We have to continuously make choices in order for us to succeed. And so over the whole session that we're going to be going through, we're going to hear from some wonderful, amazing ladies. It's Waithaka and the ladies today. Today, we didn't have any other gentlemen who are coming to speak. You're going to hear from some amazing women who are going to share their experiences with you. But even as we go along this session, I'm going to be sharing specific stories that have made a difference for me. And I've found that as you begin to listen to stories of success, they affect you. Because you begin to see choices that you have made, choices that you're going to make, and you become an agent for yourself. And in this moment, it is time for us to make positive choices. Because guess what? Is life becoming easier over time? Especially those who are adulting now. Have you found that as you became, things became easier? Hey, bread became cheaper, right? It became cheaper, isn't it? Hey, since you moved to your house, the distance to your office, isn't it, everything becomes progressively more tough. And so we have to become tough as well. So when we talk about this idea of resilience, hey, people always wonder, when you come for a Centonomy session, we don't just start with numbers. Okay, so look here, this is how investments work. If you look at a money market fund, it is an umbrella fund that is managed by specific investment managers. It has an oversight facility through the Kenya Capital Markets Authority here in Kenya. You're going to find that it's mainly invested in the areas. Do you hear us ever doing that? No, because that doesn't matter. I'm telling you, if we spend 2 hours here trying to explain to you what a money market fund looks like, it doesn't change you. But if you change, then you look for the money market fund that's going to affect you. Do you see the difference? It is you who needs to change. It is I who need to change and adjust so that then we're able to apply it to the investment strategy that we have. So I'm going to spend time on you because you're the one who's going to actually go out and make the investment. I wish we could come to your house, take your money and put it in the right thing, but we can't. It's you who's going to do it, isn't it? So unless we change you, we cannot achieve the goal that we have. And so I'm going to tell us a few stories along the way. And hopefully they're going to be inspirational to you. And I'll encourage you even to read those books, to watch the videos that are available, and to go through even as we go. So the first story is from one of my personal heroes. Now, he's gone through a few difficult things in the recent past. But if you look at his overall life, generally he's been a hero to me. It also shows how old I am, because when he was on TV, I was a young guy. You know, I was in my teens when he was on television, and he was a friend of ours, and I'm sure you know him, a gentleman called Will Smith. Anyone heard of Will Smith? You've heard of him? Yes? He was a rapper, then a musician, a rapper, and then he went into acting and has now really a global superstar. He cannot go around the world and not find somebody. I encourage you, please go and look for his autobiography called Will. It is something special. Not many people let you into their lives the way that he does. And the story, if you pay attention to it, is quite amazing. But the one story out of that book, I'm going to give you a spoiler. So spoiler alert in case you don't want the spoiler, but he's already put it out on social media anyway. So it's not, you'll find it in the book. The one story that stood out to me was Will speaking about his father. And when they were small, he and his brother were given an assignment by his dad. And his dad told them he owned a shop, and there was a wall that had fallen outside his shop. And his dad had decided that they need to rebuild this wall outside his shop. And he gave this assignment to his 2 small sons. These are 2 children who are below the age of 10 who have been given the assignment of building a wall. They were given bricks, they were given mortar, and they were told, this is how you do it. You pick the brick, you put the mortar on it, you place the brick, you clear the mortar on the side, make sure that it's well aligned. You put what is it called? What is that thing called that you balance so that it is in a straight line? Level, isn't it? Yes, thank you so much. You put a level on top to make sure that it is nice and straight, and then you get to the next brick. And it didn't take them 1 week, it didn't take them 1 month, it didn't take them 1 year. It took months and months and over a year for them to complete building this wall. And he tells the story that it was brick by brick. And the wall seemed, you can imagine for a 10-year-old and below, can you imagine building a wall that is taller than you? Building a wall, and he tells the story that Every day after school, they would go and build that wall. Every day. Whether they liked it or not, they showed up. It was raining, they built. It wasn't raining, it was hot, it was summertime, they built. And at the end of it, his father came and spoke to him and he said, don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Because you guys looked at this wall and you said, this is impossible. This is not doable. In your mind, it wasn't, but when you did it brick by brick, you can do it. Your investment strategy is going to be exactly the same. It is what? Brick by brick. Even those, I'm telling you, and please, I'm a student of those who have found success because I find it inspirational to me, and I encourage you to look for those who have found success. Go and look at whatever area of success they have found. Even if it seems as if suddenly they just blew up, and I'll tell you of somebody else like that along the story. They just suddenly blew up. They were nowhere, and then you didn't see it. You didn't see the bricks that they were laying beforehand. There were bricks that were being laid, and you had not seen it. And it's just that it's come out into the open right now. And so if you are planning to find success, we are not here. Please understand. I have to bust a few bubbles. People think Centonomy, I'm telling you, we've been told things. Centonomy is a cult. Centonomy, these are things we've had. Centonomy is the get rich quick. No. You come into our sessions and we are real about it. Guess what? Your investment strategy is going to take time, just like it took time to build that wall. But guess what? You can build it. That outcome that you want to achieve, it is possible. It just takes time. And it takes this commitment for us to get into that place. So, attending this session, well done. Give yourselves a hand. Well done, well done. You've done a good job, but that's not it. That was step one. What's next for you? So we're going to give a few tips along the way. Definitely, you're not going to leave this place without some idea about how investments work and how you're going to make it. But guess it is not simply attending a session like this. Let us be very clear. Our class takes 12 weeks. It is 12 weeks of day by day learning, putting it into practice, and then not just the 12 weeks, but after that period of time, actually doing the investment work that will get you to the results that you want. Please go to our YouTube channel and check it out. The number of people who come out of debt, the number of people who cleared their mortgages, the number of people who have achieved that financial freedom in their retirement, the number of people who have come back and said, I would not be where I am because of this. If I didn't have the Centonomy class, they are enough there. And you're going to hear from a few of them. I am one of them. I would not be standing in front of you if I never actually attended that Centonomy class. I would not be at the place that I am. I always tell the story that when I joined the Centonomy class, I was a tenant. And after the process and that we're going through in a couple of years, I came and shared on this stage, I became a landlord. And that changed my life. Because you think differently when you're in a different scenario. And it was, you see, it was not, I attended Centonomy, suddenly I'm a landlord. No. I attended Centonomy. I had to come back, attend again. I had to revise, go through that, do a couple of years, make the investments, pay off my debt, go through all that process, and by the grace of God, get to the place where I want to be. Oh, and I'm not there yet. That's why I show up into these places and I go to work like I've never done before. Because I recognize that I'm not there yet. And when you begin to enjoy the journey, you're going to find your way to success. So in your lives, that's why I asked you to tell a story of success, because you didn't just show up for the exam and pass. So you attended the class. Then after you attended the class, what did you do? You revised, isn't it? After you revised, you did a few cuts. What were the cuts to do? The continuous assessment test to help you revise further. Then you revised a little bit more, and then the exam came and you passed. Now at Centonomy, let me encourage you. I don't know if this encourages some people. We don't have exams. Why? Because the exam is your life. I don't know about you, but do you want to fail at your life? No. So take the classes seriously even as we go. And please have your notebooks and pens ready for you even as we go forward. I'm so excited to be here with us because this is going to be life-changing for all of us. It changed my life. It's changed the lives of many who've been through our programs, and it's going to change yours as well as we go through. So bear with me as I quickly change this slide here for you, and then we get into the session. So as I said, our theme is to invest, adapt, and succeed. Why? Because you have to take the action of investment. Investment is not simply, I've read about real estate out in Machakos. That is not investment. Investment is actually buying a piece of real estate, isn't it? Adapt is this. Listen to me. The reason that we go through multiple investment opportunities at Centonomy is because guess what? Over time, not every one of them is going to succeed. And things are going to change along the way. Any of you who has ever invested in the stock market knows that the stock market goes through cycles, isn't it? Those of you who have invested in real estate, those who bought land and then were left holding that land and wondering who to sell it to, you recognize that that market goes through what? Cycles. And so if you have not fully understood how each one of those cycles work, then you cannot adapt. Because guess what? There are those who are holding on to a specific investment strategy and they're not letting go, even when things go wrong. And it's time for us to be able to adapt. And in doing so, when you do finally adapt, it'll bring the success because you're able to move with each season that comes through. So I hope you're ready for that. We're going to listen to our first speaker of the day. And I'm so excited to invite her to come here in front. She's an investment manager at Sanlam, one of the investment companies that we have here in Kenya. I'm going to ask my dear friend. She has become, I'm claiming her as my friend now officially. Let's put our hands together for Faith Omoongeh, who's going to come and share her experiences, give us some ideas of investments, and share them as we go along. So karibu sana, Faith, a little bit more, if you don't mind, as she comes forward. You're welcome.
Good morning. I don't know what you have to enjoy that. I'm not as funny. I'm going to drop a lot of opinions today, a lot of cliches, but bear with me. I think very good. My name is Faith Omoongeh. I'm an investment manager at Sanlam Investments East Africa. We are one of the largest investment firms in this country, and we help people invest their monies. I was born and raised from a humble background. My parents are excellent. In as much as Mr. Waithaka has talked about your situation or your background not defining you, I'm going to lean into that a little bit. I think coming from a very humble background has informed a lot of things in my life. Number one, the way I view money. And I think that's also really important to talk about today. Then number two, my work ethic, both in education and at work. So when we talk about our relationship with money, for me, coming from a background which was very humble, I got to experience the effects of unmet wants. Both experience and witness them. I'd go to school, come back home, and I'd be told, do you remember so and so? Oh, they were killed because they turned out robbers. Not very many of us got out, but a few did. And because of that experience, then for me, my relationship with money is very different. My bills have to be paid in time. My work ethic, in my opinion, is very important. We joke in the office and we say, it's a Waithaka. Because for us, it's very important to still have this thing that makes sure that our needs are met. Now, I have friends who came from different backgrounds, and their relationship with money has also been defined by their background. So you'll have someone who's very loose with money, and their relationship with money is very loose. The way they spend it, the way they work hard to get it, is very different. So it's important for us, in as much as these things ought not to define us, I think it's very important for us to consider where we come from, how we relate with money, and then plan ourselves. Because no relationship is particularly safe. There are benefits to my background, there are benefits to my friend's background. So it's very important for us to know our vulnerabilities. If I am a saver, if I am a spender, there's no, in my opinion at least, nothing is completely good and nothing is completely bad. So it's very important for us to know our relationship with money. if we are spenders, then what should we do? Okay, I'm just moving. So it's very important for us to know our relationship with money. If I am a spender, then it means I need to check myself. And how then I plan myself, how I adapt myself might look different from someone else who is innately a saver because of their background. The number 2 thing I want to talk about today is preparedness. Cliche incoming. Opportunity plus preparation equals success. And when we talk about preparation, there's a lot of things that we have learned. Our education system, for example, didn't necessarily prepare us for these times. We are very busy learning about the 3 parts of an insect. We know the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. And failure for not knowing those things doesn't really affect our lives, right? But on the other hand, there's financial freedom. There's responsibility when it comes to investing your money. There's work ethic. These are things that I don't think we necessarily got from our education system, but these are things we cannot live without. So if you sit here and you are comfortable without knowing what is available for you out there, then that's your fault, right? That's where Mr. Waithaka's comment about my financial situation being your fault comes in. So I'm going to take a few minutes to talk you through what options there are to us. When we do financial advisory or education, we think there are basics. So in Kenya, Mpesa has done a great job. Our financial access or access to financial services is really high compared to other African countries. But that's just Mpesa. Now we're talking about financial literacy. Now we're talking about investments. Now we're talking about adaptability. So for you to know what's available to you is very important. And from the basic, we're talking about a simple bank account. I'm sure we all have a bank account, right? Now, the problem with having a bank account is that bank account is not necessarily yielding you anything. And if it's yielding you much, well, it's very little compared to what else you could get there. So we've moved from Mpesa, we've moved from bank deposits. Now we're talking about money market funds. Every Kenyan ought to have a money market account. It's simple, it's easy, it allows you access to your money. If you don't have a money market account, you can talk to me after this. But it's very important for you to have a money market account. And the reason why it's important for you to start today is because you keep building onto it. You learn that money market accounts are available to you. And after that, then you go into bond investments, you go into treasury bill investments, you go into mutual fund investments. And before you know it, you've built a portfolio of assets that will then allow you to be resilient and adapt. As Kenyans, we come from a background where physical assets are very important to us. I know that when anyone gets a job, for example, they start talking about acquiring land. When Mr. Mwai Kibaki came into power, the prices of land appreciated significantly. We're talking about 3-4 times. But since then, we haven't seen that kind of appreciation. So the mere act of holding land, in as much as it is good, might not be the best way for you to build your portfolio or build your wealth. Now we need to start thinking about financial assets. You need to prepare yourself, because if you find yourself in a situation where you need liquidity or you need money immediately, that piece of land is going to take you a long time to turn around. So it's important for us now to realize that the traditional way of holding assets might not necessarily be working anymore. I'm not saying you completely disregard it. I'm just saying there are better ways to build your portfolio. Start focusing on financial assets. And who knows, maybe after 3 years, you've built a very good portfolio and a very good deal comes, and you're liquid enough to take part in that, right? And we're very fortunate in our country because our assets, our financial assets do very well. They yield very high income with relatively very low risk. So what I'm here to encourage you today to do is get yourself into a class. If you need to get yourself into Centonomy, get yourself information online. There's available information online everywhere about how you can build a portfolio of assets, which is diversified. That is to say, you don't have all your eggs in one basket, because that's also important. Prepare yourself. And even as we talk about preparing yourself, I'm going to talk about getting professional help. Kenyans are really good at working hard. I think about Kenyans who, for example, live abroad. These are people who would always be ready to take on an extra shift, take whatever job is available to them. I mean, we've seen stories of guys who've gone abroad, done random jobs, and have built flats so quickly. Kenyans are hard workers. You won't take that from me. But I don't think we're necessarily careful investors. That's why we have so many unfortunate stories. We've had people who bought off-plan houses that have never been completed, right? And so we've had this particular off-plan developer who's come back with 7 lives. One goes under, he comes back with a different name, and Kenyans still buy it. He comes back with a different name, Kenyans still buy the property. So we are hard workers, but we're not careful investors. It's important for us to take risks. So if you're investing in an off-plan, you are taking some level of it. So I think it's important for us to take risks, but it's also important for us to not be careless. We can't work so hard for our money and then lose it so quickly. It's possible to lose your money in real estate. It's possible for you to lose your money in financial assets too. So even as I talk about our money market fund, you are taking some kind of risk. So I'll talk about a few things that you need to be careful about when you're looking at a money market fund, for example. You want to make sure that you're going with a partner who is trusted. Don't go with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. No one should be able to come to you and sell to you something and then you just pick it up. So you have to be careful about where you put your money. You work hard, but you also invest carefully. There are different stages in life. So there are people who can afford to take risks, and there are people who cannot afford to take risks. I think young people can afford to take risks. You don't have huge responsibilities. Well, all stories are different, but if you don't have big responsibilities, it's possible for you to take risks. But don't take careless risks. So even as you look at a partner, you want to make sure they are a big, trusted partner with a good track record. They've been able to do what they're saying they're doing for a long time. So don't just go in with every Tom, Dick, and Harry who is selling you a product, because you spend so much money in building your portfolio. So as we talk about building a portfolio and the level of risks that you're taking, from where I sit, I think it's necessary, and there are many advice. There's a lot of advice online on where to start. People talk about building an emergency fund, then you build a different portfolio. And even as you build the different levels of buffer for your wealth or for your portfolio, you're always preparing yourself to adapt and be resilient in different situations. If you see an opportunity coming through and it allows you to put money in a good investment, it's worth thinking about. But you know what? You won't be ready to do it if you had not prepared to do it. So if you had not been saving, if you had not been living within your means, if you had not been budgeting, then you won't be ready to take advantage of any situation that comes through. So it's very important. If we walk out of here with nothing, please remember these 3 things. Number 1, your financial personality type, despite the fact that your background might have informed it, does not have to define your future. You build your habits. You build your savings habits. You build your spending habits. You build you build your wealth yourself. You build your habits. Number 2, preparation is important. Always live as if you're waiting for that big deal to come through. That means you always have money available to you. Let that money not sit idle, let it work for you. So don't put that money in a bank account earning 0. Put it in an asset that will allow you to earn some income from it. And over time, you will build your portfolio. I've seen people who build a portfolio that allows them to cover their monthly expenses every month because of the cash flow that comes from it. And that's possible. So I know there's a lot of talk about job security, and it is true that our human capital is our greatest asset. Our jobs are our greatest assets. But for us to adapt and be resilient, it's important for us to always have a backup. So build your portfolio, allow it to work for you and earn an income from it. Then number 3, seek professional assistance. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to treat myself. So even when it comes to finances, don't be scared to ask a question. And if you can get professional help, even better. If you cannot, ask a friend who you consider to be smart. Don't be doing all your things silently and quietly. It might be important to run your idea by someone and tell them, hey, I want to do this. I personally know a story of a friend who almost got into wash. And the only reason he was saved is because he asked a colleague, I'm trying to do this, I'm thinking about doing this. And the colleague was like, wait. I know someone who lost so much money in that. So don't do all your don't do your things alone. Allow someone to help you think through your ideas. A long time ago, financial help and access to professional financial advice was difficult. It's no longer difficult. It's very easy for you to pick up a call and talk to someone about what you think you want to do and how you want to invest. This might be something where developed countries are behind in, but if you look at developed economies, most people have a financial planner, most people have a financial advisor. Their assets are their retirement account, they have some mutual stocks, they have some money market funds somewhere for liquidity reasons and emergency reasons. So despite the fact that we might be slightly behind, there's technology, there's information, everything else right now is available to us. And we start today. We start saving today, we set up those accounts today. And the thing is, if you don't start, you never will start. And you never will know what financial freedom is. You'll never know what resilience or adaptability looks like, especially in this tough economic environment. So 3 things. Number 1, your personality, financial personality type does not have to define you. Your habits do. Number 2, it's important to be prepared, and you work through that preparation yourself. That's on you. Then number 3, look for professional advice. We'll be here for any questions that you might have, but I'm so happy to be here, and thank you so much for listening to me.
She deserves better than that. Thank you so much. It's not that easy to be here. I am telling you the notes that I have taken. Please understand, I am stealing them. They will be part of the class agenda as we go along. Build your habits, prepare, and seek professional advice. And that's actually what we go through in the Centonomy class. So one of the things that you start off doing is by figuring out your habits. Can I show you what habits look like? Can you please all open your Mpesa messages? Please, those who are in Kenya, just open them. Go to your Mpesa messages. I want you to look at your habits that you had never seen before. That one you bring along with you. See, that's a good thing. And I thank God, as you said, Mpesa is a proper revolution when it comes to finance in Africa, and especially here. And it has changed our lives. It has made our lives better. But even good things we misuse. Just look at your messages for a second. Just look. No, I can see people who are not. Look at them. No, listen, we're actually in a class session now. Open your messages and look at them. Just have a look at the transaction costs for the last 7 messages that you went through. This is numbers that go through your pocket and you're unaware of. And that's something that shifted for me. And I always share this from my personal experience. Lack of awareness is a huge thing. When Faith mentioned build habits, this is one of the things that we must build, an awareness habit. We don't like to know. In fact, that's why some of us, I saw there's a gentleman here, I'll not point at him or anyway, no, I'll not, who didn't remove his phone because he doesn't want to know. I want to remain in ignorance because I know the pain of knowing. But in knowing is when you can make a shift, isn't it? That's where it comes from. So we're going to begin to build habits. At the beginning of the 101 program, bear with me for a second, we find ourselves breaking down some of these habits and putting them into practice. So we can't just put up that list. So when we talk about personal money management as the first module, please understand, this is not a budgeting class. Because many people think it's about budgeting. No, 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 no. Budget is one of the tools, and we learn about it for all of 15 minutes. Then it is the tool that you use along the way. And as you do it, what it is saying is, I am now taking control of where my money goes, and I'm no longer waiting to hear what somebody else decides for me. Because guess what? Can I tell you, in case you did not know, everyone has a plan for your money, including me. The reason that you're in this place is because we have a plan for your cash. Now, the issue is, do you have a plan for yours? Do you have a plan? Because by the way, your relatives do. The government does, isn't it? This is an exercise we'll do in the very first module of the class. If you don't mind, can you put up your 10 fingers like this, just so that I show you? That's 100% of your cash that you're going to get when you're paid, when you get your money, isn't it? From whatever, business, employment, whatever it is. How much of that money goes to the government? Remove 3 fingers. 30%. Before you even see it, that's 30%. After that, who do you pay next? You pay the landlord, isn't it? Or you pay the bank if you're paying a mortgage. How much goes towards that? 10, 20, 30? How much? Shout at me. How much goes to rent or homes? 20. So remove 2 fingers. So you paid the government and your landlord. Who else is left? Tithe. Praise the Lord. We are in church today. Somebody remembered. Remove that 10%. And even if you're not religious, even if you're not coming from a faith perspective, we give charitably, don't we? We are charitable people. We have relatives who ask for money, so remove 10% from that one. Remove 1 thing. How many are left? 4. Who next? Who do we pay next? Did you buy food? Remove 2 fingers. You have children. Finish all the fingers. Now, those who don't have children now, if you don't have children, you still have 1 left. What have we not done? Where were you last night and where are you going to go after this today? See, remove the last one. Do we see the power of habit? We get into a situation where we habitually spend and we don't know what we're spending for. And so if we don't capture ourselves, like Faith said, and say, build habits, we'll find ourselves in a cycle. And guess what? This was me. Can I share my personal cycle on this? This is what happens. So you get your first paycheck. So what do? You move out of home, isn't it? So suddenly you're paying rent, then you're taking care of food. So all your paycheck is gone. Good. So then you get a pay rise. Okay. Isn't it? See, now you've gotten more money. So what do you decide to do? You move to a better place, isn't it? Then you take a car loan. So the gap between your expenses and your income remains the same. Get a better job. What happens? Then you get married immediately. The gap remains the same. And a few years later, you have children, and it happens over and over again. If we don't break habits and set up proper habits that are going to shift us in the right direction, we remain in the same place. Can I share about, I told you I have a few stories today, isn't it? Can I share a story of somebody that you might know and you might not know how they got to where they are? Hey, I didn't notice there are people up there. Hello, I hope you can still see me. Hi, guys up there. Well done, well done. Sorry, I got excited. I wanted to be close to the folks here. So, anyone heard of a gentleman called Mr. Beast? Just inform those who don't know next to you. Do you know who Mr. Beast is? Anyone know his real name? Anyone know his real name? He's a young gentleman. I believe he's even younger than me. Called James Stephen Donaldson. James Stephen Donaldson is a YouTuber. He has currently the largest YouTube subscribers in the world. He has 177 million subscribers on his main channel alone. When you put together all his avenues, he has over 400 million followers. I don't think you understand. He's an American. That is larger than the entire American population. That's who he is. But he didn't just end up there. He's now recently been telling people how he grew his YouTube followers. Can you listen to this carefully? You know, you hear the story of these people were college dropouts. Yes, he was a college dropout. He didn't even finish college. But he did something that most people didn't do. Remember the story of the bricks at the beginning of this session? Can I show you Donaldson's bricks? This is what he did. When he started being a YouTuber, he got a few followers, a few thousand followers. Even me have a few thousand followers. Okay. But then for 1,000 days consecutively, please understand, listen to this again. 1,000 days consecutively, he would wake up with other YouTubers and figure out, why do people watch YouTube videos? So from 8 a.m. to very late at night, they were in front of their screen looking at the captions, looking at the thumbnails, looking at the editing of each one of those. How many years is 1,000 days consecutively? That's over 3 years of studying what works on a YouTube video. Do you now understand why he is the greatest YouTuber on earth? Did it come by fluke? Was it a chance? What was it? Habit. One of my favorite teams, and I can't wait. The next couple of weeks, the Rugby World Cup is about to begin. One of my favorite teams, when Kenya is not playing, the next team is the All Blacks. And the All Blacks have this thing they say, winning is a habit. So is losing. And so we better get into the habit of winning. Can we do a short exercise before we listen to the next speaker along the way? Get out your phone. See, we're doing some social media. I've mentioned it earlier on. I've spoken about one of the wealthy. Now, he gives away $1 million like this. Mr. Beast. Anytime he feels like, he just gives away $1 million. I don't know about you, but isn't that a good lifestyle? So we're going to do something small if you don't mind. Can we take some selfies and share them online? If you don't mind, let's do that together. So on this side, we're going to do it together. Everybody, get out your phones. Let's do that. If you can, make a big smile. Take out your phone. Look at that, the Centonomy Open there. Look at that. Hey, wonderful. Thank you. That was this side. You should have been doing yours at the same time. And this one. Let's go. Look like you're happy at least. Smile at least. There we go. Excellent. And on this side, look at that. Everybody here in this corner. Hey. Okay, we'll do both because we can't fit. There we go. Look at that. Excellent. And everybody up there, stand up so I can see you. Up on the balcony, stand so we can see. Look at that. Hey. Wonderful. Give yourselves a hand for a second. Give yourselves a hand. Good. We are here to begin to build habits. One of the first habits that you're going to learn in Module 1 of the Centonomy 101 program is to know where your money is going. That's number one. But guess what? It's not just about knowing that. It's about setting decisions as to where your money goes. Guess what? One of the priorities in my life is fun. And so I budget for it. By the grace of God. Last week, I left the Nairobi cold weather. And by the grace of God again, I managed to take my sweetheart back to the very place that we celebrated our honeymoon on the coast of Zanzibar. And we went the same way. You know, the same trips, everything. Is that not life? That's what I wanted to have 11 years later. What do you want in the next couple of years as part of your lifestyle? Make it part of your financial plan. So I'm so excited to invite our next speaker up. She is a Centonomy alumnus. She has actually been through the program. She's going to tell you what it's been like for her, even as we learn and continue to go through that. Can we put our hands together for Michelle Nambiro? She's a PR and communication strategist as well, and she'll be sharing her experiences. Thank you. So come on, put your hands together. Put your hands together. Everyone online, I'm coming to you in just a couple of minutes. Here you go, Michelle.
Good morning. How are you? My name is Michelle Nambiro, as you've heard. I'm a communication and media specialist. But again, that's not why I'm here. I'm here because, fortunately, I got to go through the 12 weeks of Centonomy 101. So I'll go back to where it started. In 2019, I was fortunate enough for the organization I was working with at that time to send me to lead the PR business in Rwanda. So I packed my bags and left for Kigali, Rwanda, the land of 1,000 hills, you know? So I'm in Rwanda, 2019 September, and then I've just started like now just adapting and just getting to be part of the community and learn what Rwandans do and just integrate, for lack of a better word. So come 2020 February, actually, COVID strikes. And that means that I was working for an agency. So for those who know about PR and communication agency, I was working for one of the agencies that is based here in Nairobi headquarters, but it has a lot of offices in Africa. So come 2020, it's lockdown. One of my mandates in that market was also business development. So you can imagine I've just gotten into a new job space, and the next thing is we are in a pandemic, and I need to bring business to the organization, and as much as also continue supporting the current clients that I had. So 2020 happened, and it was very hard to get business, especially in a new environment. So 2020 was up and down. But the good thing is that my contract was for 1 year. So I was waiting for September to come back home. But unfortunately, September comes. First, I have COVID. I can't come back home. I'm in, what is it called? I don't want to call it house arrest, but in quarantine, yes. The quarantine here was not the same quarantine in Kigali. So I had to watch, and it was really restrictive. So at that point, I was like, I just need to go back home. Remember, I'm a single lady living in Kigali alone. During quarantine, I experienced anxiety and all. I'm going somewhere, by the way, so hang in there. So I come back home. So because I catch COVID, I can't come back home. So I miss out to coming back home in September. I end up coming back home in December. I talk to my bosses and tell them, okay, I've done my 1 year. Can I come back to the Nairobi office? And they're like, you know what, Michelle, because of COVID, we're unable to what? We're unable to, you've not been able to recruit new people to train, so you'll have to stay on. So I went back in January of 2021 telling myself, I knew the kind of anxiety I had gone through living alone during the pandemic. And so I needed to come back home. So in that time, I was like, okay, I need to go back home. I need to sort out my finances. So there's the question of, do I resign? And again, I'm a millennial, we just don't resign. You know, you have to have a plan. I'm not a Gen Z who just come out and, you know. So I had to have a plan, you know. So I'm like, okay. So in that time, remember I'm a communication person, so influencers and spending time on these social platforms has been part of my life. So I bump into Caroline and she's talking about Centonomy, and I'm like, well, maybe let me try this thing, you know. So I enroll and I start my classes. So listen, the reason why I was joining was ideally to just see how best I can save up money, get out of Rwanda. And I'm not saying Rwanda is a bad place. It's just that in that space, in that time, I needed to come back home. So I'm like, okay, I just need to know how much I need to save for the next 6 months before, if I was to resign. Like I needed a solid plan. So so I started the classes, and the first class, as everyone else has said, is on personal management and there's the budgeting. So I write down my expenditure. And let me tell you, most of my expenditure was just on was on food, for lack of, I'm embarrassed, but I'm just like, really? Because of the pandemic, I was just like, I take out cabins, and then I'm a one-person household, I have responsibilities, but I don't have responsibilities, So, so I start the class, and we get to start going through the module and just having group discussions. Remember, the class is online for my kids because I want to believe the pandemic edition. So we were having our classes online. And for me, it was also just a place where I was able to just even talk to people, because it got to a place in my life where everyone I was talking to was online. Because remember, we're in COVID. So we're in classes and we go through the personal management, and then we go to time value of money. And I'm like, lol, oh my God. That's when you realize the number of years before retirement are like, they look many, but they're not many, And remember, I also want a family, and I still want to have a good lifestyle, still eat the nice food, and maybe cook it at this point, not have me eat. So I go through the module, and in that time, lucky enough, I get a consultancy. And that consultancy was for a period of one and a half years. So it was not a permanent position that I was leaving. It was more of a leap of faith. So when I get this consultancy, the reality comes that, thank God it was a remote one. So, yay, I'm going back to Kenya. So, but again, I'm like, you know what? I was used to a permanent position where I'm pensionable, and there's that comfort of knowing that you have a paycheck every other month. But right now, you're in a consultancy where in 1.5 years, you need to go back to the job market and look for another job, So so in that time, my brain opened, and now I started to have a hunger. And I'm continuing with the classes, but now I'm having the hunger of financial abundance in terms of, now I'm here and I'm being taught about how to manage my finances, how to invest, how to not evade my taxes, there's so many things that I'm being taught and I'm being opening. And then now I'm like, okay, with consultancy, this is the much amount of money I'm getting. So what do I invest in? And slowly I was like, okay, when I left Nairobi, my house, I gave it to my brother, and now I'm going to start scratch. So I cannot come back to Nairobi and say, hey, you check out, check in. So I'm like, okay, so it's like I'm restarting life again. So I was like, okay, this thing of paying rent, it's not sitting nicely with me. And because I know myself, I'm not a person for this Nairobi, I'll stay again and then I'll leave again. I'm those people who was always like, before I settle with a family, I always tell myself I am open to go out and explore and get to make money in those countries and come back ultimately. So I was like, since I'm that kind of person, how do I make myself not worry about rent. And the first thing with the few savings I had, when I come back, I had to rent. So I paid up. I remember I'm in consultancy this time. So I paid up for a few months, about 6 months for my rent. And then now I started planning with the money I have. You see, so with the money I have, thank God that I have been involved. Like I was in circles. So the workplace I had was in. I was able to join a circle, and also my mom is a very big believer of circles. So immediately I got a job. The first thing she told me was get into a circle. So my shares had accumulated over years. So that was able to help me, and plus this money I was getting from the consultancy, with time I was able to buy a house. And then now when I bought the house, I asked myself, okay, now I've gone through Centonomy and I'm being empowered, and I'm thinking, I'm not just thinking self, I'm thinking future, I'm thinking financial abundance, financial freedom. So I tell myself, okay, this house, since I can still manage the rent that I'm doing, let me put this house for Airbnb, which I did, and ran the Airbnb business, not for the faint-hearted. But again, it is something I learned in Centonomy. One of my classmates was running an Airbnb, and how she was renting out and furnishing, and then she operates it as an Airbnb. So I was like, let me get into the Airbnb business, which I did. And I'm saying it did because I just left the Airbnb business, because again, the market, post-COVID, the market is a little not, at least for me, it was not favorable for me, and it was not making financial sense where I'm running a house that I have one occupant once a month. So again, I asked myself, so how can we do this? Do I rent it out? Do I move in? Do I, and so what I did is I decided, okay, because there are some other personal issues that were happening in my life that made me decide I move in to save on the rent. But again, since I've been empowered by Centonomy, I am my own landlord. So it's not that I squander the money that I used to pay for rent. I put it into the money market, as Faith has mentioned, and it builds interest. And so I can go on and on and on and on. So in short, with this theme of invest, adapt, succeed, for me, Centonomy has enabled me to be able to see spaces in which that I can invest, spaces in which, and in not only in real estate, I was able to open my mind into money markets, into treasury bonds, into circles, like also just how do I clear this circle loan and not wait for the 5 year, the 60 months period, and be able to clear my loan faster. And I remember I was really scared of loans, by the way, at some point. But again, Centonomy teaches you about good debt and bad debt, and in short, what I'm just trying to say is the value that I've gotten from Centonomy in terms of how I think, even how my expenditure is every other day, has really changed over time. And again, it goes to what Faith said about your habits. So my habits have also changed. And I'm not there yet in terms of how my expenditure is, but at least I know I monitor how I spend. I know what my needs are. I know what I want. I know, and thanks to Centonomy also, I did Centonomy in 2021. And it's really opened my mind to the point that in 2022, I was able to, I've built this habit of telling myself, well, how else can I grow? So in 2022, I did a Women in Leadership course, where I paid for myself just to empower myself and see how best I can make this money apart from my daily job. And I'm a French speaker. So through Centonomy, I was able to monetize that. So I do translations, which gives me a little money that I then put it into clearing my loan, and then I realized that also personal development is one that I need to invest in. So starting with Centonomy, then I went to Women in Leadership. And then this year, I was able to even take myself to Germany for climate change course because I'm in the climate change space. So Centonomy has enabled me to invest in myself in as much as I invest in my future, my children that are yet to be. Thank you.
Wow. Maybe I want to go to Germany now. That's the next plan, even as we go along the way. Listen, I come into these sessions. I've been doing this even before I joined Centonomy. Actually, emceed a session here for the organization. But it's because when you come into a space like this, you learn and you grow. And I hope you're taking down those notes. I'm telling you. What you were mentioning a couple of minutes ago, Michelle, is that you were talking about using your skills and ability. Hey, you had time to be here on a Saturday. What else would we have been doing at this time if you are not present in this place? What do we normally do at this time? Very good. Now, you gave 2 hours of your time to be here, and you can go home and still sleep, isn't it? That it's part of the plan for the weekend. Hey, rest is important. It is important. But we have to be strategic about our rest. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for sharing it openly. Let me tell you, coming and telling your personal story here in front is not easy. Do you mind if we get into class for a couple of minutes and learn? Tip number 1, which I always give wherever we go, that you're going to learn when you come into the Centonomy class, write this down, is pay yourself first. You have never done that before? Write it down so that you become a priority to yourself. Pay yourself when? First. So did you see when we put our 10 fingers up, who did we pay first? And then next? And then where? Did you see yourself in that list? So what are we trying to do? We're trying to shift our mindset so that you become a priority to yourself. How do you pay yourself? Write this down. You do 2 things. You save and invest first. So as a priority, we're trying to get you to the point where you are actually making yourself central to the plan. It is not about being selfish. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, because many people come into the class and then one day they pay myself, it's all about me. No, no, no. Guess what? If I am wealthy, then it makes a difference for the community around me. By the grace of God, and this is something I could not do years ago. I'm not at 100%. But by the grace of God, this year, pretty much every fundraiser that I've been called for, I have been able to. Is that not positive? That's how you begin to affect people's lives. Now, if I was not earning what I am earning right now, and as a family, we had not invested the way we had invested, could we be able to give that way? No, but it started off by doing what? Prioritizing ourselves, and then saying, out of that, have we been able to prioritize giving? Are you a priority to yourself? Are you? Where do you place yourself on that list? Hey, I know there's going to be a question. We're coming to the Q&A part. There'll be a question about black tax. You've heard of black tax? The way we're supporting relatives and everybody else. How many of you prioritize your relatives over yourselves? Yeah, I see those hands. So what happens when you are in need? So if we don't take care of ourselves, can we take care of others? We cannot. And the mistake that we make around our budgeting is that we forget ourselves. So when we say pay ourselves first, that's what we mean. How do you pay yourself? Write these 2 things down. You save and invest first. Make those 2 things a priority. Here, I'm giving you, in the class, we're able to put together, we have a template that you're able to see in terms of your your savings plan, your investment, the templates are there. But I'm giving you this information so that you can start even before you get into the class. So here is an investment goal. Listen to this. Our saving and investment is not percentages. Percentages don't work. Because in percentages, what does that mean? So look at this. Can I give you an idea around, for somebody who always asks, what percentage of my earnings should I save? Okay. Good. So I'm earning 20,000 shillings per month. I want to live in a house that's worth 20 million. What percentage of my 20,000 should I invest so that I can live in a house that's 20 million? Does percentage work? No, it is goal-based. So that if I have a goal of living in a 20 million house, I have to then adjust my income as well. So when you hear Michelle saying, look, I am a French speaker, and therefore I added that to my repertoire. Why? Because when I'm using my French skills, they're helping me pay down my debt so that you see the outcome. But if it didn't start off with the goal, then you find yourself in the same situation over and over again. Not percentage, but goal. So can I give you a savings goal? In the class, we talk about 6 months of your income in a savings account as a buffer. I think Faith also mentioned that. So we call that an emergency fund. Come on, guys. We all go through emergency, don't we? When things come that we cannot plan for. And 6 months worth of your income is a goal that you should set to have in a savings account so that should anything happen, for 6 months, you can continue to live your life. Now, is 6 months the only goal that you can have? Listen, we suggest. At Centonomy, we don't inform, we suggest. Imagine if you had 3 months. Is that better? Not better than 0? What if you had 12 months? Is that not better than 6? So what we're doing is when you set a goal, it forces you in a specific direction. Now, when it comes to the investment goals, here are the things. What do you want? And that's a harder question than it seems. What do you want? And we struggle to put these things down, but you're going to put them down now on your notes where you are. What are some of the financial goals that you have? I want you to write them down. Probably it is the housing that you're going to live in, the place that you'd like to live. Where is it? And don't write, this is how the class happens. People write, I want to live in a nice house. What is a nice house? What's a nice house? Anyone know? What's a nice house? Somebody shout out to me. What is a nice house? A mansion. What is a mansion? Do you understand, to somebody who's living in a shack, a 2-bedroom is a mansion? You see the difference? So what is it to you? Can I ask you to be specific? If you're writing down the goal of a house that you want to live in, name it. It is on Kiambu Road. It is on half an acre. It will cost 20 million. And I want to live there in the next 10 years. You see, there's a difference. A nice house, and now I have 10 years to figure out where is 20 million coming. See the difference. So write down a few of those goals that you have, because I'm taking us through the process. When you set the goal, then you get into the process now as we go. Have you written them down? Hey, here's the other thing. People attend a session like this and they're like, yeah, if I write down, it doesn't matter. Have I not shown you 2 examples of people's lives who have been completely shifted by being specific about their goals? Build a wall. Get the most subscribers on YouTube. How do you do that? You sit down and figure it out. So write down your financial goals. And in the class, we will assist you. In the second module, actually, I can show you that here real quick. In the second module, which is called Time Value of Money, I think Michelle mentioned it. We actually begin to plan. How do you know how much it will cost? So right now, my children are young, but we are already planning for their university education. Why? Because it will be coming. See, it's coming. By the grace of God, it will come. So how do I know how much it costs? It's simple mathematics. And in the class, let me put everyone at peace, because people hear maths and they shut down. In this maths class, you get all the answers. The teachers will give you all the answers. We're not trying to train you in maths. We're trying to give you the tools to plan for. So watch this. I want my children to go to university. Is that a goal? It is not. Why? Somebody said no here. Why? It's not a goal. I want my children to go to university is not a goal. Can I help you to how we transform it into a goal? Which university? When? How much will it cost? How many children are going to university? You see the difference? I want my children to go to university is not a goal. Say, I want my children to go to the University of Nairobi, and they're going in the next 6, 8, and 11 years from now. Each one of them will cost a different amount. And in the time value of money class, we're able to extrapolate and to say each one of them will cost. The first one will cost about 4 million shillings. The second one will cost us about 5.5 million. And the third one will cost about 7 million shillings. Now when because I know the questions which are coming. Should we, some of the parents in the room, you are coming to ask, should we invest in insurance policies for our children? You had that question. How do you know how much to invest if you don't know which university? So we set specific goals. That's tip number 1. Pay yourself when? First. And how do you pay yourself? You do 2 things. You do what? You save and do what? Invest. That's something you can tweet. Next, number 2. Write this down. Track your spending. If you cannot take control of your money, I assure you, does not matter how much money you earn. At Centonomy, we've trained people who are earning less than 10,000 shillings a month, and we also train people who are earning over 2 million shillings a month, and they have the same problem. We have been called in by some of the largest organizations in this country because we have senior executives who cannot manage 2 million shillings a month. Why? Because they simply spend 3 million shillings. You see the issue? So is it the amount of money that you're earning that is the issue? No. So obviously the one earning 3 million shillings, they're eating every day. That's not the problem. But the problem is they're in debt. I am telling you. Because they never learned the process of it. This is one story that I was allowed to tell because he came back to the class and shared with the class. There was a gentleman and we talked about the tracking. And he came back to the class and he said, Waithaka, 80,000 shillings a month on alcohol, and I am not an alcoholic. How did that happen? Because he has a group of friends and he's the one earning the most. Who tends to buy the bottle every time they go out? Him. Guess what? He was spending 80,000 shillings on alcohol in a month. He didn't know he was spending it. And when we looked at his investments, he was investing less than 50,000 shillings. Do you see a problem? Because he was in the same chama, the chamas that we are part of, that have been for 10 years, and we've been contributing 2,000 for 10 years. He's bred the same amount. So if you're not adjusting with the years that are coming by, how will you achieve your goals? So when we come into the Centonomy class, we are coming to build habits for growth, but it's not in general. You don't come and say, I want to be rich. That means nothing. When you define what you want, then it becomes a goal. But can I tell you why we don't like to put goals up? Because when we put up a goal, suddenly we can fail. You see, before that, whether I do it or not, but when I come here and I say I want to be a landlord, and in 2 years you come back and ask, Waithaka, how are you doing? You see the issue. Here's the thing. There is no success that has been found without it. What's your goal? Look at athletes. They have specific goals. Those goals come to pass because they practice and orient themselves towards that goal. What do you want is a tougher question than you think. Because people say, I want to be rich. You really don't. Hey, I shared this at the beginning of this year. I told everyone in my office, I want to lose weight. Guess what happens every time we get to the office and there's cake? Oh, Mr. Waithaka, sorry. We are supporting your goal. You think that I've regretted that choice? Yeah. Have I made every choice correct along the way? No. But am I better off than I was at the beginning of this year? Yes. I wore this suit because I can fit in it now. Beginning of this year, I could not. What choices are you making? When you make that choice, you are held accountable. So, track your expenses. Why? Because if you can't manage what you have, doesn't matter how much you get, you will mismanage. So, you guys looked at your Mpesa messages. When you come into the class, we'll give you a full tracker. You can download them now and begin the practice already, because these are things that you can put into habit. Why? When I understood how much I was spending on certain things, then it made it possible to make a plan for the next. I just want to mention this because sometimes it becomes heavy when you come into a session like this. It becomes heavy and you're like, oh, will I ever leave? Here's the plan. One of the biggest mistakes that we make in our budgeting process, and we'll address it in module 1 when you come into the class, is that we forget to put our priorities in our budget. What are some of the things that we say are priorities in our lives? Shout them out, and you can write them in the chat box as well. What are things that are priorities in your life? Shout it out. Food is, oh, I shall not steal that from you. Good for you, where food is. What else do you prioritize? Family, isn't it? So how have you prioritized your family? You know, we make this mistake and we say, I want to earn so much money for my children, but you don't even get enough time to spend with your children. So do you understand that budgeting is not just about money, but it's also about budgeting your time, your energy, and your skills around you? Please understand that when I leave this place, nobody calls me from the office, because where am I going? To be with my kids. I told you last week, I was with my wife. It was a priority. Guess what happens when you make your family a priority? We didn't just, by the way, you didn't just show up in Zanzibar. Let me just explain to you. This was in our budget. Well, it was in my budget, it was a surprise for her. It was in my budget from the beginning of, I made the booking for the holiday last week in January. Why? There's a plan. And he said, good, where's the plan? We put it together and he said, okay, so these are your payments for the next few months. You see what happens when you prioritize things that matter to you. Do you want to travel to Germany? Put it in your budget. Do you want to be able to go out with your friends every weekend? Put it where? In your budget. Because when you go out every week anyway, you're spending the cash and then suddenly you wonder, where did my money go? And people think that this wealth creation journey is a complex thing, but my friends, it is not. Can I prove it to you? How many of us can think of somebody who you used to beat in school every week, every month? In fact, they were always at the bottom of the class, but now they are wealthier than you. Raise your hand. I'm raising my hand because I can think of somebody like that. So is it about education? Is it about intellectual ability? It is about the choices that we make on a daily. That's what we're going to get. When you find out, like I did, that you're spending more on takeout food than your rent, then you know there is an imbalance. That's what happened to us. And when we found that imbalance, it allowed us to shift our priority so that we can aim for the goal that we want. Tip number 2. Tip number 3, focus on assets. I can't remember if it was Faith or Michelle. I think it was Faith who mentioned, as Kenyans or Africans, we are very good at buying land, yes? For what? You're buying land for what? Mchanga, yes. For what? What is it for? It will appreciate when? In time, how much? Every year it will appreciate by how much? So after 10 years, it has appreciated. Then to who? To whoever. You see the problem that we have, that we're not strategic about our investment strategy. So watch this. We buy our land, and who do we buy it from? You all those guys who have been, they are on the street, they're on the radio, telling you about land, isn't it? And they're telling you 50 by 100 by 50, and you can buy it for how much? Yes, Maguta, yes. How much will that piece of land be? So we know the price. Do we know the value? Can I tell you a secret? We're dealing with one of these companies. We're actually training their employees. And we found out that for some of these land companies, this is the thing. They don't buy 50 by 50 plots. Just so that you understand the difference between strategy and planning. They don't buy 50 by 50. They go and buy what? 5 acres. Okay? Then what do? It is called value addition. They simply divide it. They go and get title deeds, put a Maram road and tell you it is 50 meters from tarmac. Okay? 50 meters from tarmac, Maram road. They come back and sell that same property to you for between 30 and 60% more than its current value. But we look at it and say the price is what? Cheap, because it's for the small piece of land. Is that strategic? So if I bought it for 60% more than it is worth, it appreciates by the end of this year. So see, it has appreciated in value, but I bought it for 60% more. So if I try to sell it at the end of this year, I will sell it for less than what I bought. The land appreciated, but did the price go up? So we have an entire class, if you can see their module 6, which is taught by a real estate agent. She's also a land economist, so that we begin to be strategic with our buying of land. So is land a good investment? Yes. But just buying it. Tip number 3, focus on assets. Now we're being very specific with this description. Assets. Assets put money in your pocket. Please understand the difference. So by the grace of God, I have a car that is parked outside here. It is not an asset. The bank told me it's an asset. In fact, if you borrow to buy that car, it's called what? Asset financing. Please understand, it being parked outside there, it is losing me money. Now, do I like my car? Yes. Do I drive it with a lot of joy? Yes. Does it make my life better? Yes. But is it making me money? Absolutely no. We need to begin to figure out how many of the things that we own are putting money in our pocket. Can I make this more emotional for you for a few seconds? If I buy a house and I live in it, is it an asset? Is it a good thing? Are we all aiming for it? But we have to understand what it does for you. So I paid 20 million for the house, and it saves me 60,000 shillings in rent per month. You see the difference? Now, when you hear what Michelle was saying a couple of minutes ago, where my tenant is paying me money, that one is an asset. Why? Because every week, every month, money in my pocket. We don't want you to get to the point at which you retire and the only asset that you have is your home. You want to own a home? I do. But I want to make sure when I'm in my home, I have enough assets that are paying me to live in that house. That is financial freedom. So just do a quick personal assessment. How many of the things that you own put money in your pocket? Your sofa, does it put money? Your TV. Now, did I say that those things are bad? No. So when we talked about the idea of borrowing, we talk about good debt versus bad debt. Now you begin to understand bad debt goes towards consumption. So if I take a car loan and I buy the car, I am losing. Why? Because I'm paying more for the car because I pay interest, right? I pay more for the car than it's worth today. After I've owned this car for how many years now? Just over a year and a bit. Can I sell it for the same amount that I bought it for? No. So I'm losing money in that equation. But watch this. If I purchase an apartment somewhere and somebody is paying me rent, the value of the apartment is going up and every month money is. Do you see the difference? So what's your strategy? So when we come into the class, we're being specific. At this point, when we're getting into the Living Abundantly class, we're asking you, what do you actually want? And we're being specific. No longer are we saying a nice house, no. Which one? When? How much? So that when you come now into the investment classes, what we were speaking about before and Faith was explaining, investments are not the same. You're now going to choose the investments that are going to get you to the goal that you have. So now you begin to understand, if I'm trying to grow over time, which investments will help me grow? Because people get excited about government bonds. How many of us are excited bonds? You had government bonds, in fact, they're tax-free, 15% per year, isn't it? But how many of you know that government bonds are simple interest, not compounding? You know that there's a big difference between compound interest and simple interest, especially over the long term. So what role do they play in your investment strategy? That's what we're in. So I've given you 3 tips and I hope you'll put them on social media. Tip number 1 was what? Pay yourself when? What does that mean? That you have prioritized yourself and the goals that you have. And it is not selfish. Remember we talked about if something is important to you, let it be in your budget. So if giving is important to you, somebody here shouted tithe. Giving to your church is important to you. Where should it be? In your budget. Giving to your family, where should it be? In your budget. Tip number 2. Track your spending. Why? Because it's those habits on a daily, monthly, weekly basis that are going to shift your life. And tip number 3, what did we say? Focus on what? Assets. When you come into the class, we're being specific. What assets are going to get you to the goal have? That's what we're aiming for. Now listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't take long for you to make choices. The class starts on the 7th of September. The classes run this way so we understand. You come for 1 class per week for 12 weeks. So we run the same class during the weekday evenings and on Saturday morning at a time like this. So we're running classes right now. We have people who are in class. Why do we do it this way? So for your convenience. So that if you miss the weekday evening, you can come on Saturday. If on Saturday you know you're going somewhere and you're going to travel, you can come during the week because it's the same class during the entire week. So currently we're running the classes on Thursday evening and Saturday. Depending on the demand, we are able to increase the number of classes during the week or decrease depending on what the situation is. So highly likely it'll be Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So you have multiple options to attend the class, but it is payable in installments. So all that you're required to do today to take advantage of this, and we're trying to get you to make that first step, because when you make a commitment, you begin to move in that direction effectively. We want you to make that commitment simply register today, and registration is usually 1,500 shillings, but today, because you have shown up for the open day, we always give an open day discount. Why? Because you have given of your time and energy to be here. It costs you to I'm aiming for. After you've done that, you can pay the rest of the fees in installments, monthly installments, because we know that's how we earn. Whether you're in business or you're earning, a salary. So you can pay 17,000 on or before the first class, then 17,000 after 1 month, 4 weeks of being in class, and then the last installment to make it even easier, only 14,000 shillings over that time. So I want you to take advantage of this. Get out your Mpesa now, and you can put in 986850, and all you do is put in your name, your first name. For example, in my case, it would be Waithaka, and the number 101. Once you've done that, we will reach out to you and give you the full details, the breakdown of the class, your orientation pack, all the information that you have. And unlike in a session like this, when you come into the class, you receive notes in advance. After the class, you receive assignments and the worksheets that you're going to be using. So it's quite detailed even as we go forward. So one more time, even as we go through that, the Mpesa is 986850. You just put in your name and the number 101, such as Jane 101 or Waithaka 101, so we know which program you're coming for. For those who are online, and I know we've got quite a few people from outside the country, we're going to be sharing some of the details on how you can reach out to us. You can either use the bank details. So if you're online, you can take a quick screenshot of that so that you're able to make that payment. If you're online, just make a quick screenshot of it so that you can be able to do so. And if you're having any issues with that payment, please do reach out to the contact at the bottom of your screen there, which is nancy@centonomy.com, or call that number, +254 7000 36433. If you do so, we will reach out and help you, especially for those who are online, so that you can be able to make the payments and get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is life transformative. And I want you to be part of that whole process. We're coming to the end of the session, and I'm so excited to invite our next speaker because she caused real problems in this country a few months ago. I don't know if you remember. This lady went online and told people, please post your pay slips. Did you see that one? And Kenyans were like, what? In this country, people are, I read that there was a doctor who was asking, you mean I am a doctor earning 100 and a doctor? I went to school for more years than everybody else. I'm earning 150K. And there's somebody doing a marketing program somewhere else, and they're earning 1.something million shillings. There was a disconnect. And what that began to reveal is this. Guess what? And that's why I love coming for sessions like this, and I hope you get this. If there's another person in this world who is doing something, then guess what? I can do it too. That's the thought process. If there's someone earning that amount of money, then what? I can do it too. I just didn't know. And so when she did this, it really changed my thinking around finances, and I really want to hear your story. So can we put our hands together for Just Ivy Africa? She's coming to share her personal story and a couple of ideas that we have, even as we get into that place. She's still working here, so you can come, you can keep clapping, and just giving that same energy. Thank you so, so much. Thank you so, so much.
Hi. This is the pretty crowd. I think this is the largest crowd I've ever spoken in front of. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I took a public speaking class sometime last year. I invested myself. I spoke to a public speaking coach. The thing is, until you speak to public, that class means nothing. So this is practice, okay? I'm not a financial, but I'm not Waithaka, I'm not Waceke. I'm a financial literacy enthusiast, meaning I discovered that money is so sweet, but the way to make the sweet money is to learn about it. And my tagline is, as I am learning, I'm taking you with me. So I'm gonna take you guys through a story. I suffer from severe imposter syndrome. So I typed out my story. When you suffer from imposter syndrome, the best thing to do is over-prepare. I'm an over-preparer. So I timed it. It's gonna take 9 minutes, 52 seconds of your time to listen to my story. I hope I can get your attention throughout it all, and then we'll have some fun. Okay? Awesome. My name is Ivy Wanjiru, known by the moniker Just Ivy Africa. However, let me clarify. I am never merely just Ivy. So who is Ivy? She represents a living, breathing mosaic of duality. Ivy is a compilation of the people she has loved and respected, a tapestry woven from every experience meant to foster growth, despite the challenges that may have hindered her. She is an amalgamation of emotions that have transformed into thoughts, thoughts that have evolved into decisions, decisions that translated into actions, and actions that have become habits. This mosaic is dynamic, adaptable, and forever changing. Upon close examination, I often discover fragments of these people and these experiences intertwined in my mindset, especially concerning money. My relationship with money first took shape at home around 1996, guided by my parents. My dad, watching me from heaven, he'd be so proud moment. I often witnessed my father showering my mother and all of us with indulgences. Little did I know at the time, this observation laid the foundation for my understanding that money is attainable. It is not the root of all evil, but a tool to cultivate a better life. So basically, I watched my dad spoil the heck out of my mom, and I was like, so even me, I can be spoiled in future. My parents were remarkably open about finances, willing to discuss it openly and eager to educate me about saving. Our conversations normalized the topic, fostering a family culture of zero shame, zero guilt. Fast forward to 2020. 2020, guys. I call myself a late bloomer, but wherever you bloom, okay? I know Waithaka has spoken here. Some of you are thinking, I've never even saved money. It's fine. Start today, okay? Fast forward to 2020, that openness spurred my journey to learning about money. It prompted a radical career shift from lifestyle discussions on social media to conversations about the tools that underpin the lifestyles depicted on these platforms. But here's the thing, I used to spend a lot of time on Instagram, looking at people in their houses, looking at people in their cars, but I always used to wonder, why aren't they posting? What got them there? So I decided to do that. My enthusiasm for learning about wealth creation became infectious, shared within my growing community of movers. Do I have movers here? Beyond this, notable figures in the finance sector began to take notice, and I was invited to my inaugural speaking engagement. I'll never forget being called, please come join us for a panel, talk about money. And I'm like, why? How? Me? So I remember it was with a lady called Waceke Tango. She's in the climate industry. I need to introduce you. And Georgine Derangu. These people have now become my friends, okay? So listening to my peers discuss stocks, real estate, networks, while all I was familiar with was a savings account, it proved challenging. I felt very small. But fueled by the desire to catch up and learn more, I initiated what many of you now recognize as Money Monday. This marked the inception of my journey into intelligent saving and investments using well-regarded instruments like the MMF. All of us probably know the MMF. How many of us have money in an MMF? Okay, good. Remember, even as late bloomers, it's never too late to start. That's where I started. Another money mindset emerged during my high school years in the early 2000s. Our financial situation at home shifted drastically, and we lost everything. Everything. Okay. Who's been in such a situation? Or who's witnessed such a situation? You have a rich neighbor, you're living in Karen, they move somewhere else. Or you yourself, you lose everything. Whether comes in, you raise your hand. These are things we need to talk about because it happens. Okay? The opulent treatment we were once accustomed to shifted to survival mode. The attitude that accompanied abundance was replaced with an unfamiliar, very raw patience, essential to sustain us during times of scarcity. The steady cash flow turned into a mere trickle, leaving us grappling with the harsh reality of deprivation. From that point on, whenever I was asked about my aspirations, anytime someone asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up? I kept saying, I want to be rich. I just want to be rich because I was traumatized. Okay. Poverty became our adversary. And for those familiar with women, you know, women don't go back in lifestyle. We don't. So my mom, poverty was her arch nemesis. I saw that woman work. I watched her transform necessity into a budding business that carried us through high school and university. This season demonstrated the wisdom of one of my favorite authors. Her name is Sheryl Sandberg. Do we know Sheryl Sandberg? She's the former CEO of Facebook. She says, we are not only defined by our achievements, but by our ability to survive. Okay? Now, as a mother, I'm a mother of two, and entrepreneur, I take pride in this resilient mindset. It necessitates careful planning, reflection on past experiences, and anticipation of future challenges to cultivate such a way of thinking. In my line of work as a content creator, influencer, I like to call myself a Thinkfluencer because I like standing out from the crowd. Why fit in when you're born to stand out? So in my line of work, I've learned to anticipate the inflow and outflow of funds, harmonizing money management with a deep sense of gratitude. I've discovered that during tough times, focusing on and appreciating what I possess is more powerful than fixating on what I lack. Even in hard times, focus on that 5 shillings you have. Focus on that 100 shillings you have. If you focus on the lack, that lack will appreciate. I always like to say, what you appreciate, appreciates. Okay? But you're such a good audience, Waithaka. Thank you. Where was I? Good. So in my line of work, prior to finalizing any partnerships, if I have a brand I'm working with, before that deal ends, I delve into my client's future plans to determine where I can add value and ensure profitability. Additionally, I prioritize paying myself first before any expenditures. The first time I spoke to a bunch of friends about paying ourselves first, I remember people said, so go party. That's what paying yourself first means. It means you celebrate the fact that your salary has hit your bank account by wasting it. How is that paying yourself first? No, it's not. So nowadays, I've learned to pay myself first before any expenditures. This resilient approach has taught me to embrace risk and volatility. Especially as a woman, we're very risk averse. When you hear something is risky, we shy away from it. I have learned to move towards it and give risk a hug, a tight hug. Let's move together. Okay? I've come to realize as well that it's wiser to stay committed to average returns over an extended period of time rather than being swayed by every sign of trouble or perceived opportunity. This is one of the biggest things I learned about money. If you get compounding 3% over 30 years, it's better than being told today you'll get 15% in 10 days. Hold on to your average return over a period of time. With this in mind, I progressed from our simple money market funds to higher yield fixed income funds, for example, and I even ventured into riskier options like commercial papers. Who knows what a commercial paper is? Yeah. So, but you know government bonds. So a commercial paper is when a corporate seeks out loans from the public. Very risky. People who invested in Nakuma through commercial papers are crying till today. But here's the thing I said. I've learned to embrace risk. How? Through learning about it and starting small. All these moves were guided by the insights of seasoned industry experts, following thorough due diligence. She said, talk to experts. Every move I made is guided by an expert. Sometimes I do follow my gut because I've managed to venture into real estate, and I'll never forget my wealth manager was so upset with me because we had a plan. And the plan was invest in XYZ. The interest you earn from this, we put it into your real estate. But then I found a beautiful piece of land overlooking a lake. Guys, I lost my mind and I just said, I'm buying it. And here's the thing they don't tell you about land. When you purchase land, make money before you buy. Be strategic. It was still guided by experts. And now I can say I'm a landowner. Sometimes it's just a personal thing. I'm very proud. Okay? Lastly, The most cherished mindset I possess was cultivated during my employment years, specifically in the year 2017. I fell victim to the black tax parasite and paid a steep price for it. Relatives sought financial assistance and I readily complied. They promised substantial returns on my investments, and Ivy, being financially naive, agreed. Their urgency for cash and my lack of clear goals, I repeat, their urgency and my lack of goals. I've lost it. That was such a powerful part. Come on. Wait, where? Okay, the urgency for cash and my lack of clear goals led me to squander my hard-earned money. Guys, I gave out a loan of 1 million Kenya shillings to relatives, okay? Yeah, I worked hard for that money. But I deserved my fate, and I'll explain why. Why did I let that cash linger? Why did I let it just sit in a bank account? Because I enjoyed having a visual representation of my balance. Sometimes as a saver, you look, hi, really? Oh, sometimes as a saver, you just open your, you go to your phone, open your bank account and see some money sitting there and you feel safe. Yeah. So that's what I needed. Because remember, Dad lost money, so I was traumatized. So I needed to see money to feel safe. Have you guys ever heard the term savers are losers? I had no idea. Just sitting in a bank account, losing money. Okay? I became fixated on the idea that the best safety net was tangible money, irrespective of its growth potential. This misguided notion lulled me into a false sense of security. The loss of my savings fueled resentment, resulting in the longest grudge I have ever held. Guys, I was angry at my relatives. I was a walking angry woman, angry Black woman. I was moody and I was hopeless, which is never good. Hope is good. I always say hope is not a strategy, but hope is good. Light at the end of that tunnel. Whenever someone told me there's light, I would want to punch them because comprehension eluded me. And the worst thing is my mindset moved backwards and I started to believe that money was scarce, money was hard to come by, and it was gone. Extinguishing any hope of recovery, I was stuck. In 2019, 2 years of walking around like an angry Black woman, a revelation arrived in the form of my elder sister, Nyawera. I don't know if she's watching online, Nyawera. I always quote her. Nyawera possesses one of the most profound mindsets I've ever encountered. Her outlook is positive, grounded, and it's unwavering. She's very steady. Money likes a steady mindset. During one of my rants about the black tax incident, so I think I talked to her a lot. This time she just said, you know what, Ivy, she calls me Shiro. Shiro, just stop. This cycle is tiring. You can't keep doing this. You need to release that money. Clinging on to it keeps you closed off. Closed mouths remain unfed, and closed hands cannot receive. So in my anger, I was like, I held on to that. And what Nyawera was telling me to be like this. Okay? Let go, Shiro. Stop questioning why you lack money and start exploring how you can attain more. To this date, I can't tell my sister I can't afford that. I mean, yeah, I can, but she always asks, how can you afford it? These things we tell ourselves all the time. Centonomy 48, I can't afford it. No, how can I afford it? Ladies and gentlemen, that moment was cathartic. It was life-altering for me to hear my sister tell me that. I unlearned my scarcity mindset, reacquainting myself with a more holistic approach to money. I stopped viewing money as a thing and started seeing money as energy. I now recognize that giving leads to receiving and resentment results in loss. In 2023, this philosophy guides my every step. This same energy informs my investment decisions. I understand that enthusiasm must be balanced. You have to manage your excitability. Optimal investments offer steady returns over time. This is the last full scalp. So we said optimal investments over a period of time are good, and immediate gratification warrants scrutiny. When someone is saying, now, go, quick, big bucks, scrutinize. Okay? And here's the thing, pressures and temptations will always arise. You will see others rushing towards certain investments with greater resources, and you will have that feeling, am I missing out? Am I missing out? In that moment, understand that yes, it's good to make swift decisions, but if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel uneasy, what I want you to do is pause, question, and apply logic. Then move. Pause, question, apply logic, then moving starts with doing your due diligence. I'm very grateful for movers because they've taught me to do my homework first, and I'm always teaching them to do homework first. The thing about due diligence, you might think, this opportunity is going to pass me by while I try and figure this out. But what you're forgetting is that you're operating from a point of abundance. When you tell yourself, pause, if it's not for me, it's not for me. Always do your due diligence, guys. Do your homework. Remember, money and emotions don't mix. Money and logic harmonize seamlessly. Adhering to this patience-driven approach empowered me to diversify my income streams and subsequently my investment portfolios. So I started by making more money and then diversifying my investment. Okay? My journey began by investing in myself. I devoured books by accomplished financial advisors. I delved into podcasts hosted by industry experts. I enrolled in courses to propel my business. I actually graduated from Centonomy Entrepreneur. It was fantastic. One of my favorite modules was the entrepreneur mindset. Mind-blowing. And I attended events like this. If you want to know money, you have to surround yourself with people who want to do the same and who talk about money. If you want to know money and you're constantly surrounded by broke people, what do they say? If you hang around 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around 5 idiots, you'll be the... Over and above that, I also diversified geographically. You see, that's the thing. When you told diversify your investments, it's not just stick to Kenya alone. What else is out there? The world is huge, and Africa nowadays is borderless. So I diversified geographically, and I diversified in terms of the investment vehicles. Stocks, real estate, but also not just land or a house. Who's heard of real estate investment trust? Right? Anyone sitting here, if you've not heard about it, please Google REITs. All of us here can own a piece of even the Hilton group of hotels through rights. Okay? I can't believe I'm talking about money like this. I've really grown. All right. And the other thing that I always say that I work very hard on is investing in my networks. Man, because remember how I started this talk? I am a product of people who have come before me. So recognizing my affinity for learning from others, I sought mentorship wherever possible. Guys, I'm very aggressive. When I meet someone who I think we gel with and someone who's doing amazing things, I name them my mentor. They might hate it, but I label them my mentor and I follow suit. And this is what I've learned about my mentors and people who are doing well. Oh, they move very fast. If you're given an assignment, if they tell you come here, go. If they tell you do. Otherwise, they'll move on to the next person and you'll be left. So be aggressive in that way as well. I'm honored to acknowledge that my mentors and coaches include some of the brightest minds on the continent. One of these mentors, in fact, once shared an incredible money philosophy. He said, Ivy, I have never saved a coin in my life. This is a billionaire. A lot of his wealth has been amassed through crypto. I don't talk about crypto because I don't invest in things I don't understand. But out there are crypto billionaires, I can tell you for sure. He said, I have never saved a coin in my life. I just continue to generate more income. My mentor is called John. John is an incredible person. His words had a profound impact that prompted me to expand my income stream. So in addition to brand partnerships, which pay me very well, I wouldn't lie, I'm blessed. I consult for corporations. The other day I sat in a brainstorm and I was paid really good money because I put my creative mind to use. I host events. I participate in affiliate programs. If you've watched carefully, you've seen me drinking a particular drink while I'm here. I'm paid to drink that drink. So when I was offered water, I was like, tanifanye kazi. Okay. I invest in startups. As remember, I said I'm very aggressive. When a small business comes to me and says, Ivy, can we do some marketing? I say, give me a stake in the business. That's strategic. Basically, I sell more, I sell for more, and I sell to more. Please remember that. Sell more, sell for more, sell to more. You can find me after. I charge $50 per hour for consultation. You can find me after and I'll explain this to you. Now, why do I share this story today? I share this narrative to emphasize that healthy money mindsets aren't forged solely during hardships. It's not when times are hard that you decide, I need a good mindset. These are skills honed over days, weeks, months, and years. They are fragments of the larger puzzle, shaped by the residue left by people and experiences, a mosaic woven by both giving and receiving. These mindsets influence not only our financial decisions, but also influence things as mundane as how we take our tea. Investing in the pursuit of understanding, practicing patience, forgiving ourselves for our past mistakes, and striving tirelessly to excel in our chosen fields opens doors for those who have achieved what we aspire to achieve to find and guide us. My mentors found me at the height of my career, but I was also open to mentorship. So I want to tell everyone here, stay open to the prospect of being discovered and witness your mosaic evolve. So when you see just Ivy before you, perceive the remnants of those who preceded her. Think about the people who came before her. Hopefully, you'll integrate her experience into your blueprint for success. Thank you.
Yeah. What do you say after that? Wow. And why are we saying wow? Because of the vulnerability. Maybe it's not easy to share those stories, you know, and to say this was the tough time that we went through. But thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. That's amazing. And as we come towards the time for Q&A, because I know many of us have questions, not every question is going to be answered in this session, so bear with us as we go through. I just want to mention that, as I said, I take notes every single time that we come through. I told you, savers are losers, yeah? Pause, question, apply logic, and then move. But you have to move. You can't just sit there. Yeah, and rates. We talk about rates in the real estate class, real estate investment trust. I want us to know this. Please bear with us today. I have apologies from the founder and my mentor, Waceke Nduati. Deeply unfortunate. They are essentially business partners, they're brothers. They were bereaved yesterday, and they're Muslim, not yesterday, day before yesterday, they're Muslims. So you know, they don't wait for burial. So they were told the burial is this morning. We had planned to be here with her and she was unable to make it. She's with her family, her husband and the rest of her family. So she sent her apologies. I pray that you would remember her in your prayers and their family for that loss. But she did ask me to mention this. Please do remember, this is a great place to start your journey of wealth creation and learning about it. It's the book, Making Sense. It's by our founder, Waceke Nduati. It's stories by Africans, of Africans like us here. This is not a financial book that was written in the West. This was things that have happened here. Stories of wealth creation here. A young gentleman called Deshaun, a gentleman called Douglas, the lady, it's Faith, right? The book, who have each chosen to share their personal journeys in this book. It is available outside there. It's only 1,000 shillings. And it's a wonderful place to begin your journey. It's a great gift for someone in your life who maybe they're not at that stage. You know, all those black tax, you know, the relatives who keep asking for money, don't send them money, send them a copy of this book and then see what happens in a couple of months from now, whether that makes a difference in their lives. But it's great to read other people's stories. I love stories because they help change me. That's how we learn best. So it's available at the desk outside there. In case you came and you didn't have Mpesa, it is possible to pay for the registration of the class in cash there, just 500 shillings today, and put down your name so that we are able to follow up and give you the details of where the classes are going to be along the way. I'm just going to ask, as I do this now, to the wonderful panel of ladies, if you can come and join me up here on the stage so that we're ready to take questions real quick right now, if you don't mind just coming up. As they do so, I just wanted to mention that we run a program called the Centonomy Entrepreneur as well. You heard Ivy speak about it a couple of minutes ago. If you are in business and business is your primary source of income, we usually talk about it this way and say, if that is your current situation and your business is struggling, then the place to start is the entrepreneurship program, okay? But for everyone, including even entrepreneurs, you need to be able to manage your personal money. Because if you can't manage your personal money, often it is the problem that is in your business. So do reach out to us and we'll be able to help you out. The entrepreneur program, we've got a special event. This one is fully online and it is free next weekend, so you can register for it. It is the Centonomy Entrepreneur Chats, and we're talking about, are you in business for the long haul? So next Saturday, in case you're interested, please do register and do join us for that. It is also free, and it is life-changing for those who are in business. You've heard from the wonderful ladies here. So as we come to a close, we're going to take a couple of questions. I'm going to be very, very, very tough on this. It will be first come, first serve. On this end, anyone with a question before we get started? Going, gone. On this end here, there are two questions. I'm going to take these two questions here at the front. I've got one there. I'll take that one there and one there. That is it. So, Steve, I think somebody has to help me out with this. The question here at the front. We'll go. Please address it to the panel or to somebody who's in the room that you need to, and then we'll close this out. Yes, go ahead. You can stand and tell us who you are, and then ask your question. Real quick, and a question, not a life story. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Daisy. And the question is it wrong right now to advise my peers not to go in, not to write it right now? Because that is what I did. I'm not writing to it. I have created a business. I am into marketing. Okay. So, is it wrong advice? Because right now employment is so. I got like 10 CVs when I was at attachment. So you have no experience. I was like, how will I get the experience if you do not help me out? So how can we create that awareness to the graduates and everyone else they are seeking?
Great. To handle that. Anyone with a thought around it? Yeah, sure.
I think I'm taking this because I'm a believer of personal development. And in that line, when I was looking for a job, I decided to approach a career coach who helped me work on my CV first and my cover letter. And a short span of time, I got the other job. And I've gotten 2 jobs out of this. So is it wrong? I don't think it's wrong. I think we're not in those days where you still wait for your godfathers and a friend of a friend of a friend to hook you up with a job. I think since we're a digital world, you're able to get whatever you want. And again, I like what you say. You've started your own business because you've seen the opportunity. You see, you've not waited to graduate, and you've said you're a student, so you've not waited to graduate. but you've decided, okay, what skill do I have that I can push out there? So I don't think it's wrong to tell your people, because goes back to saying when you start that small money again, that's how you create wealth.
And every journey, there's no problem with you learning through experience, a work setup, or through experience through your own personal. Every journey is different, but I wouldn't completely regard the value of learning from an organization or people. So whatever, I think every journey is different, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with an office first, then start your own thing or start your own thing. The thing we're trying to preach here is just do something.
Yeah, my first job, I worked for free for 2 months. But what it was doing was giving me experience. Sometimes that's the thing, you might be willing to do so. And when you have gotten that experience, it's quite meaningful along the way, because then you are able to translate the thing. Next question. Yes.
My name is Sanlam.
One question, Samuel, please, because of time. I'm going to be tough. One question. Go ahead.
All right. No, I think we are only a
Yeah.
So, I think we have a passion of
Okay.
yeah, because I follow Instagram. Is there a system for pay for the country consultation, please?
I always say if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. So yes, if anyone wants to consult today, write to me in my DMs today, and then we can take it from there.
Ask and you will receive. We don't have a physical session for the Centonomy classes at the moment because we are reading the market. The market said we want physical classes. And so we did physical classes, and 20 people came for the first session. By the 6th session, there were 6. By the last session, there were 1, and we had hired the hall. Does it make business sense to do so? At this point, probably not. But we're heading in that direction. We have a lot of these physical engagements for that. There was somebody here in the middle. There you go. Thank you. Can help out. Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lorraine from Waithaka.
Hi, Doreen.
Thank you so much. A communication specialist working in the NGO sector. So thank you so much for organizing this event. I think this is my second, and honestly, every time I show up, I learn something. So much. My question is, how do you strike a balance between all these things? I mean, you talked about investment and input. Nambiro, you talked about going to Germany, investing in things that in personal, I don't know how to call it, but investing in things that, valuable to you. You talked about faith, how hard we work and we need to appreciate ourselves. Ivy talked about taking risks, investing in things that make sense. You said, talk about black tax, which is honestly up and down. So how do you strike a balance between all these things? Yeah.
Sure. So I'll respond to that real quick, and then if you have something to be able to say this. You balance by balancing. What does that mean? Often when we say, how do you strike a balance, we are choosing not to do so. What does that mean? I wake up and I decide what I'm going to do today. And if it doesn't fall into my daily plan, it's not there. So in the Centonomy programs, we're challenging you to actually plan. So that when you say, I want to give towards my black tax, or can I use a different word for that? Can I give towards my family? Because that's what it is, my family and my community. Instead of saying, I cannot, remember what she said a couple of minutes ago, say, what can I do? So we often suggest in your budget, put a number towards that, okay? So in my budget, there's a number for giving towards family. There's a number for giving towards church. There's a number for giving towards, and that means then I have to be disciplined. That means, therefore, When the cousin calls and they call and say, I need, if I've given my budget, I say what? No. But does it mean that I didn't give? I gave. And I've given that story a couple of times. So when we're dealing with this situation, the problem of being an adult is you have to adult. And adults multitask. We don't do one thing at a time. We do multiple things. So as I was saving this year towards the trip, I was also paying off some debt. I was also preparing for my children's education. I was also doing multiple things. And the only way to do so is by planning. So when we talk about having a budget, that's what that means. But many times when we have a budget, we put only the things other people told us about. Our debts, we put our rental payments. What else do we put? School fees, all the things somebody else said. We don't put the things that matter to us. So when you say, how do you balance? It means that I want to travel next year. What does that mean? My current budget must start paying for my travel. Are we together? So balancing actually means balancing. All these things I want to do, I can't do them at the same level. So if I want to give towards my family, I want to save for my future, I want to travel next year, and I put them all together and I say, how much money do I have at the moment? Out of the money that I have, how do I put it towards each one of these items? If there's a shortfall, then the question is, and you've had these amazing entrepreneurial women, each one of them, all of them will tell you, oh, there's a shortfall. What can I do? And that's a question that you've asked. When did you start consulting? When did you start consulting? 2021. Was it immediately after you started working? It wasn't. But when you saw there was a gap, you said, opportunity. Same thing. If there's a gap, what can you do to fill that? So when we say, how do you balance? It's by doing what? Balance. Actually doing question here, unless there's something else you want to add. Good. And we'll help you with that. That's what templates and the stories and the case studies that we have in the class are going to assist you with. Because many times we've never been challenged and been told, oh, you don't just give towards your family. Give a number. Then that means some tough conversations. Because when somebody calls, imagine you say no, but say it with kindness. Yeah? And say, next month, I'll be ready to help you. I was not ready this month. Unless it's an emergency, and we already have a template for you called an emergency fund, and it must be an emergency. Can I explain that your wedding is not my emergency? No, we'll be clear about that, right? In our church, we will marry you for free. Just come on a Sunday, 2 witnesses, you'll get married. But the party that you want to have, that is yours, that's yours. You see what I mean about balance? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Tom Nduati, a co-founder of Thinkfluencer Solutions. And most of my questions have been asked. But I just have one thing I wish to say, or rather ask. We run a business that has a software for SMEs. And we are in the process of changing the status quo in the consultancy industry. But I just have one thing, and it's a request to Ivy. I sent a DM, and unfortunately, don't worry, the reason why I'm shaking is because I want to make a proposal. I have sent a DM requesting for a 1-minute pitch to Ivy immediately after the meeting, if possible. So I don't know if my proposal can be granted. Just 1-minute pitch of what I do, or just 1-minute pitch of me. Then after that, thank you so much.
I'll hang around just for you.
Thank you so much.
Ask and you will receive. Last question over here. As we take it, I just want to mention, remember this, it's a learning opportunity that we have along the way. We have an amazing new podcast by our founder, Waceke. It's called Making Sense Conversations. It's available pretty much everywhere where podcasts are available, Spotify, Castbox, Google Podcast. I highly recommend registering and actually subscribing to that podcast. some really good conversations, especially this month. I can see that there are lots of ladies. It's been women and money this month, because women, we deal with the different things. We'll have one for men, but ladies, this is for you this month. Do go, it's free, so please do check it out. Go ahead, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abanas Kioko. I'm a graduate of University of Nairobi and also a graduate of ICAT, Israel. And I run a shoe production enterprise. And actually, I do production, and realizing that production usually takes a lot of resources, I needed advice on raising funds for production in terms of looking for funds from friend parties loans, or actually looking for partners, or even looking for investors. What would be the best option, or what would be the best course of action to raise funds? Thank you.
So this is an issue that we deal in the Centonomy Entrepreneur program that I mentioned earlier on. And raising funds is a real issue, and especially here in Africa, because we don't have the infrastructure. When you go into the Western world, there's infrastructure for funding from every stage of business. Early stage, idea stage, they have incubators and all those, and we're getting to that stage right now. So we have that kind of space. At the beginning of a business, you don't want to take credit, because credit means an immediate return for the one who has lent to you. If you take credit early on, unless there is sufficient cash flow, you're going to find it difficult, which is why banks tend not to lend money early on in a business. So where do you want to go? Here's the advice. Angel investors. Now, when we say angel investors, people think that these people are angels. They are not. It's simply a term. They have money. They want to protect their money, but they're willing to have that cash patient rather than, for example, a bank. When we talk about angel investors, can I name some of the best ones in life? Mom, dad, uncle, people who you know. Those are really, really good people because you can have conversations with them. However, that does not mean that you're not responsible for the cash that they're giving you. So for any kind of investors, they want to see a financial plan for your business. What are your projections? When that cash comes in, what is it being used for? Is it being used for cash flow at the moment? Is it being used for capital expenditure? What is it being used for? So you have to address that issue and actually show business projections at whatever level of business. Because when you're doing projections in a business and even trying to pitch for cash, anyone who's putting money into business, they are concerned about money and they want to see the outcome of it. So what is your cash plan? And when you have a cash plan, it is likely that you're going to find them. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to join me in putting your hands together for this amazing panel of ladies who shared their stories and told them really well. Ladies, we have a gift for you if you don't mind. Sebastian, if you don't mind helping me please with that. And we just wanted to give that. This is my chance to take a photo with wonderful ladies. As we do, I just wanted to remind you that the book Making Sense is available outside on that end. Yes. Is available there, and you can make your registration. If you have any question about the classes that we run at Centonomy, the flow and everything, we've got team members here, all of them in wonderful shirts, written Centonomy, and at the desk there, they'll be able to assist you. So if you don't mind, can you put your hands together for Michelle as she comes forward for her gift? We can take a quick photo. Put your hands together for Faith. And last but not least, put your hands together for Ivy. I got reminded just now that we've also got, remember, Speak to Investment Advisors. We've got a team from Sanlam as well who put their desk outside there. You can find out about offerings that they have, please do reach out to them. We have a tradition here at Centonomy, and we are going to continue with that tradition because we believe that God is the one who gives us the ability to create wealth. And so we thank God for the opportunity to share that with you. And all those who are online, thank you so much for sticking with us as we go through. We'll be sharing the winners on the social media platform. On our social media, you'll be able to get the details of that as we go through. If you don't mind, please stand where you are as we say a closing prayer. We had said it at the beginning. I'm going to challenge you to say it again. I will invest, I will adapt, and I will succeed. I want you to go home thinking about what am I going to succeed at? Because we say these things, but are we being specific for ourselves? So let us pray. God, what a privilege it is to speak words of encouragement, words that change people's lives. Hopefully will bring a change to this country and this country. Thank you for all those who have given their time, their energy to be here, to log in, to use their money, to use their data to be here. We don't take it for granted. I pray that each one of them got something that they can go home with and be able to learn and grow. I pray for all those who are registering today and will be in the class, that they'll be able to come in the days and months and years ahead and say, this thing changed our lives. Thank you for the Centonomy team. Thank you for the All Saints Cathedral team and everybody who has supported this event. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you all. See you in class, guys.